go. All right. I am Ku, also known as Devin or Chase. I'm here with Sarah Jean, and this is an entry interview for Big Brother Ultimate, hosted by Alex Potter Production, myself. We're just gonna be asking you a few questions about your game and your experiences as a gamer. All right.
Okay.
So first of all, what's your name?
My name is Sarah Jean. Some people call me Sarah SJ, but Sarah Jean.
All right. And first question I'm gonna ask you is to tell us about yourself.
I'm 31. I live in Texas. I have 3 dogs. Um, I was an optician, but here in about a week, the day that we enter the house, I actually start a new job for a mortgage company. So excited about that. That's about it. I've been watching Big Brother since season 1. A huge fan. Played BBTG, and been in a few orgs.
All right. So what kind of strategy are you bringing into the game?
I'm a very big social strategist. I'm definitely one of the people that will be friends with pretty much everybody in the house. I don't overcommit with promises, but I do make sure that I connect on a personal level as well as a game level, to kind of help further myself in the game. I also am a strong competition player, but I don't go in like getting trying to get all the wins at first. I feel like it creates a target, so I kind of lay back a little bit. I don't throw any challenges. If I win, great, but if I don't win, it's okay too. So about mid game is when I start trying to really start winning competitions.
So you play the lady in wait role basically.
Yes.
Okay. That's that's kind of like me, I used to do the same thing. Like I'll let people think I'm weak. I'll just lay back, let everybody else make themselves targets. And then when all the weak
Yes.
targets are left, that's when I'll come in and pick everybody off. So all right. So another question I'm gonna ask you is what do you feel was your most memorable season of Big Brother?
Like Big Brother the show.
Yeah.
Um, oh, that's a good question. I am a habitual Big Brother watcher. Like I literally watch all of the seasons at least once a year. Excuse me. I kind of think that Big Brother 18, I love that Nicole changed up a few of her gameplays and her strategy, and she won that season. That was a really good season to me. As far as like ultimate season, I would say Dan's winning season was one of my favorite seasons. And the way he was able to kind of manipulate socially, and get his way to the end ultimately.
I completely agree. I'm not gonna lie to you. I completely loved his strategy in that season, the way he was able to manipulate. I mean, if him and Dr. Will sat in the final two, who do you think would get the jury vote?
Oh gosh, that's a good question. Honestly, people say that Dr. Will is a huge strategist, and honestly, when you watch his gameplay, it's not one that I favor. He's kind of flirty, and so that kind of helps him get to the end. But Dan was never like a flirt. He used straight up strategy socially because he had a girl the whole time that he was in both seasons that he played in. So he literally used his friendships and manipulated those friendships to make it to the end. So I think Dan has a better shot at winning.
Okay, so let me ask you a good question. All right, so we just discussed that Will was he manipulated emotions to get to the end, and
Mm-hmm.
but Dan also technically kind of some used his religion a little bit. Which do you think is worse to abuse, religion or emotions?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm not a very religious person. So as if it was myself, if I was to put myself in those shoes, I think I would manipulate the religion. Sadly, I mean, no matter which way you look at it, honestly, you're looked at kind of like a villain. So I guess for me, because I'm not very religious, it would be that way for me. Um, but as far as like how people view it, no matter what, like I said, you're gonna be a villain in emotions or religion.
Very true, very true. So here's another question, and then I'm gonna get back to the main scheme questions I had. These are just questions that popped up. So do you believe that some people come into the Big Brother house with a character that they choose to play?
Oh, absolutely. I've played a few of these orgs, and when I go in and I already know somebody, I kind of let them know like this has nothing to do with our friendship. How the game is played is how the game is played. But in the end, if we are friends, you know who I am as a person. So yes, I do absolutely believe that sometimes your personality is adjusted to get to that end, because that's the ultimate goal, is to make it to the end. And things change day by day, so you kind of have to utilize your personality to change day by day too.
Exactly. And so let me get to the next question. What type of player are you? Are you loyal or are you deceitful?
I'm a very loyal person. I have made it to the end with final two or final three deals, and I've made it with those people. uh, I want to say a good 5 times. I make sure that I kind of have like a really good social game so that not a lot of people know who my final two or final three is if they don't have my word. But the ones that have my word, those are the ones that I fight for to the end. I do not sacrifice my game for them. So I'm always going to make sure that I'm number one, but I also want to make it to the end with my allies.
Absolutely. Let me ask you a question. They say you got these day one people who came to your inbox first people to hit you up. Do you automatically find yourself being loyal to them, or is there ever the possibility that you might make a more loyal ally down the line?
So I have actually played with Ambi before. Ambi and I are actually friends outside of this house, so my loyalty to her is undying.
Okay.
But I do understand that I'm meeting pretty much everybody else in the cast is new to me. So I do know that I'm meeting new people and creating new bonds with them. Ambi may not make it to the end. I may not be able to save her. So I have to keep an open mind that I can get a better ally out of somebody else, which is why I want to make sure that my social game is strong.
Exactly. So that leads me to my next question. Um, what qualities do you possess that separate you from the rest of the competition, the other 15 competitors, including Ambi?
Oh, that's a good question. I think I've played more of these games than a lot of people have that I know of, at least. I think that's something that kind of helps separate me is I've been on production side and I've been a player in these games. So I can kind of understand how, or at least see where I feel like somebody might be using me or using my ally. So it's kind of awareness that helps separate me from them. I don't know how everybody plays competitively, so I can't say that I'm going to be a better competitor than these people. And like I said, when I come into the game, I don't go with all arms in and trying to win every competition. So I think just kind of having a heads up of how these things work will kind of help me get a little bit further than some people that might be newer at these.
Okay, so I'm gonna bring another question that you're gonna find interesting. I like to ask good question. This is another good question. Um, do you feel that there's no such thing as coming in with a strategy that you must always adapt in order to be a good Big Brother player?
It's a little bit of both, to be honest. I mean, I know that you have a strategy when coming in, but our strategies change when people are evicted and that person is who you relied on. You have to adapt and to change and to figure out what your new strategy is. So I think it's a little bit of both. You might have an idea of what you're wanting to do, but 3 months is a long time and you never know what can change in those 3 months.
So, do you believe, because we all know BBTG is like, you get one day to get together, and when you're playing this game, now we got a whole week to get together. Do you think it's more possibilities for things to change in a 3 month game or in a 1 day game?
Oh, definitely a 3 month game. I think when you're able to, that's kind of a hard question because I think in both. I mean, when you're in a 3 day game, you're just kind of going and going and going. And like you said, you really don't have time to get your together. And now you actually do have time to get your shit together, but you also have that time to build connections with people, which can easily change how people are viewed. You know, you can look at it, week one, and you have this view of somebody, and then week, 6 rolls around and you're like, oh well, I kind of don't feel the same about that person. So I think honestly it's kind of 50-50.
All right. Another question I have is, we're almost to the end. I know you got things to do. Number five is, what kind of impact has the game of Big Brother had on your life? And when did you first actually see the show? What was your first season?
My first season ever, I want to say, was the first All-Star season is when I actually started watching it on
Season
TV.
7.
And then from there on, I just kind of was like a dedicated fan. I mean, I remember when I was trying to say, "Hey, mom, let me stay up past my bedtime so I can figure out who the winner is." I mean, I was real young when all of these seasons happened, but it was something I was very intrigued with. I didn't go back and watch the first 6 seasons until CBS had them on demand and everything. So, but I've literally been a fan for so long of this. Um, I started playing. I think I played BBTG. I was not October, so I know I didn't start at first. I want to say it was in November. It was before December because I went on a trip to New Orleans in the beginning of December, and I was already in tier two. So it had to have been in November that I started. And I actually started with a coworker. My coworker and I are both really big brother fans, and we had dinner parties throughout the summer and would go over to each other's houses watching all of the episodes and talking back and forth and watching the feeds and whatnot. And then when I saw that CBS had created this BBTG, I was like, oh my god, we got to try it. So both of us went in and applied for a house, and we won tier one together, and we got into a tier two house. I wasn't able to save her in the tier two house, but we did play tier one and tier two together. So that was kind of fun. Doing with my best friend, my coworker. Um, and what was the other part of your question? That I know I just answered two
I
parts.
I believe the other part was, what. Well, you kind of did answer both parts. There was the kind of impact it had on your life, and then it was when you the first season you saw. So you
Oh
did
yeah,
answer those questions.
the impact has been amazing. I've made so many friends throughout this community. It's been something that has just truly been, I mean, it takes over your social life, but honestly, I don't regret any of it. I've made so many friends that I hope to have for life, and I hope to meet so many more.
All right. I have two more questions if you consent to them. You don't have to answer them.
Okay,
Or
I
you can.
consent.
All right. So the first question I'm going to ask you is, if you had to compare yourself to any player in Big Brother history, that's from season 1 to now, who would it be?
Oh, that's hard. I a lot of people do not like Nicole F, and I love her. Um, I wouldn't say that All Stars with Nicole F was the kind of strategy that I would have, but more so Nicole F season 18 when she won. Um, she knew coming in kind of like what to expect because of season 16. Um, and she was kind of able to utilize that to lay low and make sure that other people were targets before her. So that is typically the strategy that I do like to take on. I have kind of used the plus one strategy that I can't even remember who was the one that kind of came up with that idea, but where you have your, final two and then you have your plus ones and you rely on your plus one to help save you and your final two to the very end.
Yeah, I mean, and then, that's a strategy that should be a given, because if you're playing with somebody else, you want to do whatever you can to get you and that person to the end, whether it is using other people, without them knowing.
Exactly.
I'm completely guilty of that. I'm the type of person, I'll use anybody who, as long as I can get myself to the end.
Yourself is number one, always number one.
I know, like sometimes I start my final two on the block, and she's like, I'm going home. Like, I feel bad, but you know what? I'm still here. So that's all right. But the next question I have for you is, what was the question? How do you handle conflict? Let's say somebody called you out on your shit. How do you handle that? Or somebody spreading lies. How do you handle that?
So I'm really not a fighter. Honestly, I'm really not. I try to turn things into a smart ass comment versus dealing with the drama. Ultimately, we are people behind these devices. We are people outside of this game. And I don't see the necessary attack. I don't see it necessary to attack people. But whenever it does come down to an attack that is geared towards me, I am more a person to talk about it in the main chat or in front of everybody versus going here, 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 here. I would like everybody to know my point of view and why I'm defending myself. Um, as far as like attacking people or calling people out, I don't typically play that way because I feel like it does put a target on you. Um, and that's something that a lot of people who do play that way don't necessarily see, but usually as soon as that fight or that argument comes out, they're the next target or the target after that. So I don't
Yeah,
typically play that way, but I'm not afraid to defend myself, let's put it that way.
right. You defend yourself, but defend yourself in a way that doesn't make you a target.
Yeah, exactly.
Because the smart ass comments are just gonna make it worse.
Well, usually I'm telling people that I'm rolling a blunt and I don't have time.
you know, I, the way I play is, I play in a way where it's like, I'll do whatever I can to stay as scarce as possible, so nobody even notices I'm there. So it's like, if somebody calls me out, I'm just gonna pretend I'm not there, so that they look stupid and I don't.
Yeah, I have mine set to where I'm online, but I'm not. I don't want everybody to know like I'm online, offline, or whatever. So I just have it, I think,
Yeah,
resting or something.
yeah, it just comes from not want to be bothered. Okay, so last question I'm gonna ask you. I have to know this. How far did you get in BBTG?
I got to tier five. I honestly was person at
Circuit
the
breaker.
circuit breaker. And Ambi can attest to that because that's where Ambi and I officially met, was in tier five. And I even told her, I said, hopefully I play better in this than I did in tier five circuit breaker because that was not for me. If I wanted to have spent the money, I probably could have beat tier five, but honestly, I had already started getting really into the org community, and I prefer these over BBTG.
Ooh. Oh, so you just gave me another question, right? I gotta ask.
Okay.
So if there is a season two, Are you coming back?
I've considered coming back, but not as Sarah Jean. That's not really my real name anyway. So I've considered coming back, just not as Sarah Jean,
Okay, but don't
because
tell
I
me
think
who. 'Cause you don't want nobody,
no, I'm
everybody else
definitely not going to tell you who.
to
But I
know.
think Sarah's kind of had her run in the BBTG world. So I think Sarah will continue in orgs, and that's kind of how it goes.
Okay, so we can see you as somebody else, but don't tell
Yeah,
nobody that's okay.
yeah, exactly.
All right, so well, just a spoiler alert: if you would have went to tier 6, you would just had to deal with circuit breaker anyway. So
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm good with circuit breaker. So I don't. I even had to do that as a competition in an org, and I was like, this, I'm out.
all right, well, thank you for your time. Actually, we actually did 22 minutes, but
Hey, I can talk about Big Brother.
well, who knows? Well, there might be a follow-up interview. We'll see. But thank you for your time, and I appreciate you.
Yeah, no problem. Bye.
Bye.